Something is happening behind closed doors right now. Two global powers are striking a deal so big it could quietly decide who controls the world's money next. And the strange part? The evidence of this deal has been hiding in plain sight, but almost no one's connecting the dots. Trump was caught on a hot mic saying Putin wants to make a deal with me. That line was never meant for the public. If Putin is reaching through Trump, the war may be closer to ending than anyone is admitting. Not through victory or surrender. Through a quiet agreement that protects power and saves face for everyone involved. Zelensky has flown to Washington to discuss security guarantees. Behind the curtain, you hear limited air support, no boots on the ground, and frozen front lines that quietly become the new map. That sounds like compromise, but in geopolitics, someone pays a price. So how do you know when something this sensitive is real? You don't wait for press releases. You watch the places where truth shows up first, and gold is the cleanest signal we have. In crisis, gold usually surges. When fear peaks, it runs fast. Yet right now it's steady near the low 3300s, as if the market is holding its breath. That is not calm, it's anticipation. Money moves before politicians speak. Gold is acting like a lie detector that has already lit up, waiting for the room to notice. We have seen this before. Before the Berlin Wall fell, before the first Gulf War opened, before Nixon closed the gold window, the market steadied even as the public narrative sounded chaotic. The money heard whispers long before the microphones caught up. Trump performs for the cameras, but he makes real moves in rooms without them. Putin plays for leverage and time, and he never pays retail. Each has a reason to keep talks quiet. Trump wants credit for peace without the cost of escalation. Putin wants sanctions relief in practice, even if the slogans remain. Zelensky wants protection that is real, even if the label is not formal membership. What could be on the table? A ceasefire that locks lines in place while everyone claims they did not concede. A corridor for energy and grain that lowers global prices without admitting dependence. A synchronized pause in long-range strikes that test compliance without signing. None of that fits in the headline, which is the point. The public hears broad words like progress and constructive talks. Markets listen for the rhythm underneath, and right now it's too steady for a truly unstable war. If the deal is real, hear what happens. Safe haven flows fade. Money rotates into equities, infrastructure, and energy transit. If the deal is theater, hear what happens next. The photo ops fade, a strike lands where it hurts, and the market catches the fake smile. The tape tells you who believed the story and who wrote it. This is why gold matters now. It is not the star. It is the light at the edge of the stage. It shows where the actors are about to walk. Sometimes the way it refuses to move is the loudest thing in the room. Ask what each side gets from quiet peace. Putin gets time, lower pressure on his economy, and the chance to claim that facts on the ground are now facts in law. Trump gets to say he stopped the war without sending troops. Zelensky gets real air coverage and real money, even if the alliance badge on paper arrives later. Putin faces a deeper drain and a hungrier coalition. Trump owns a promise with no payoff and a market that stops believing. Zelensky burns political capital at home and abroad with nothing to show for it. The incentives are aligned enough to keep talking, and that is why the market is listening. There are tells you can watch. Quiet meetings with intelligence chiefs instead of foreign ministers. Logistics changes that shift fuel and ammunition without the usual noise. Insurance pricing for Black Sea shipping that moves before a press conference. If the Fed signals patience while the White House signals progress, risk appetite flips fast. If the Fed sounds hawkish while the deal wobbles, the market tightens and gold launches. Policy and peace are two hands on one lever, and the first tip gives you truth before speeches do. It is a read of posture and incentive. The tape is telling you something the podium is not ready to say. That is why the calm in gold matters more than another headline about talks. People will say this is just another news cycle. That is a lullaby. Money does not buy lullabies, it buys outcomes. So here's a practical way to hold the thread without getting lost in noise. Watch three things. 1. Gold near the low 3,300s. 2. Freight and energy insurance in the region. 3. Language shifts from leaders that replace verbs of escalation with verbs of condition and time. When all three line up, the story moves. If only one flashes, be patient. If two flash and gold refuse to follow, assume someone is planting a headline and keep your powder dry. The point is not to guess. The point is to listen with instruments that ignore spin. If you are skeptical, good. Skepticism is how you survive markets like this. Do not believe me, believe the behavior of price when no one is looking. Gold is not perfect, but it's honest. It does not for re-election, it does not need applause, and it does not wait to a briefing. It responds to fear and to relief. There are a human side to this as well. Freight will move, food prices will ease, and winter will look less heavy in the parts of Europe that have been paying for this with heat and with taxes. The story can still break either way. That is why patience matters more than prediction. The better you are at reading the tells, the less you need to gamble on the announcement. When the deal is finally admitted, it will not arrive as one sentence. It will arrive as a series of actions that add up to the truth. A ceasefire that holds, a corridor that stays open, a funding package that clears, a sanction that gets reviewed and then quietly delayed. Markets will price each step, and the sum will look obvious in hindsight. The people who paid attention were not psychic. They watched signals that ignore applause. So when you hear an official deny their deal, don't argue with the quote. Compare the tone to the tape. Ask why gold is quiet if we are near chaos. Ask why insurance is cheaper this week than last if nothing changed. When incentives line up, outcomes follow. Right now, incentives are closer than the headlines admit, and gold is the simplest proof on the table. If a real peace holds, capital will leave the bunker fast. Growth, transport, and rebuilding will become the trade of the year. If the peace is theater, gold will remind everyone that fear never retired. In both paths, the one who listened early wins. Here is the short map. Scenario 1, a real ceasefire that holds. Scenario 2, staged progress that slips. If the ceasefire holds, freight normalizes and energy risk discounts. If it slips, insurers widen quotes and shipping slows again. Gold confirms either path with speed you cannot fake. For watchers who want clean signals, use 3. Gold near the low 3300s. Insurance for cargo and energy routes. Word choice from leaders that shifts from force to condition. You don't need to predict the announcement. You only need to see the alignment when it arrives. Timing matters. Leaders want markets calm before they speak because calm lowers the cost of action. That is why the tape often moves first and why the statements arrive later. Remember this when the podium finally smiles for the cameras. The market told you first. Gold told you first. It always does because it cannot lie and it cannot campaign. Stay focused. Watch alignment, not applause. When the first piece of the truth drops, you will not need to guess the rest. If this opened your eyes to the deal you were never meant to see, subscribe to Wealth Signal to stay in front of the moves that shape your money and your life.